is Justin Pereira. I'm a fourth-year medical student at Hofstra Northwell School of Medicine. Since I was a little kid, when people would ask, what do you want to do when you grow up? I would say either a nurse or a doctor. In college, I was a pre-med. I went to Harvard.
So when you were studying undergrad, what was the hardest science-related course that you took?
I would have to say anatomy and physiology. That is a course that you actually don't have to take as a pre-med, at least where I went, but you do, it is sort of recommended just because you're gonna see that stuff again if you're going into medical school. Right. And I did find it really challenging because, I mean, think about it just intuitively, the human body is really complicated, tons of organ systems. But I will say, as hard as it was, and as frustrated as it was at times to sort of see all that stuff for the first time, when I got to medical school, I was so happy to have been exposed to this. I loved my undergraduate experience. You're able, even though I was a pre-med doing a science major, I was able to do so many extracurriculars. I did a lot of musical theater, a cappella. I was able to minor in dramatic arts.
Have you found that you had any sort of, I guess, advantage just by doing this diversity of activities?
What I found is when you're a pre-med, you'll always have the stuff that you had to have to be a pre-med. You'll have your Mcat, you'll have your GPA, and the courses, your prerequisites. So if you love something else, go for it. I mean, stand out in any way you can, and it certainly gave me something to talk about at interviews that I think may have, helped me stand out a little bit in the crowd.
Gotcha. When you were taking the Mcat, how did you prepare for it?
I actually found it really helpful to take a structured course. So I found, a test prep company that I felt comfortable with, and I went with that. I would stress that not everyone needs to do that. It just depends on what you end up feeling comfortable with. But I would stress that for different people, if you can learn the material and take the practice test, you'll be good.
Are there any shows or movies that you think do a particularly good job of showing off the reality of what medicine is?
Yeah, a lot of people would be surprised, but actually the most accurate depiction I've ever seen of what it's like to work at a hospital is probably the show Scrubs. It actually really nicely captures some of the politics, some of the interpersonal things that go on, the sort of hilarity that can occur. I feel like Scrubs has that heart, and it also captures a lot of just the antics and fun that sort of go on when you spend that much time there.
Right.
I don't want to throw anyone under the bus, but there are certain specialties in surgery where people are often more direct, sometimes more abrasive.
Oh man, like Dr. Strange. Yeah, he's not the nicest guy.
Strange doctor?
Yeah, and then he gets stranger and doesn't really learn a lot personally, but gets cool powers.
Yeah, so that's kind of like going through med school, if you think about it.
So, what has been the most surprising thing about med school?
Bear with me on this one. It's that it's really hard. It is really difficult. Some days, some classes were really tough. Others I thought were pretty manageable. In medical school, pretty much every day you're working your tail off. And I'm gonna be honest, it really transforms you. Working that hard for 4 years, you sort of become this sort of doctorly person without even trying to, just by working that hard. So definitely one thing that I want the next generation to sort of be aware of is you definitely don't need to major in biology or even make that your collegiate focus to become a doctor, to go into medical school. A lot of the smartest people I know who are now in medical school, some of whom are now in residency, discovered medicine really, really late. There are so many different paths and they're all perfectly valid. You can be an artist, you can be a really sort of down-to-earth normal person, you don't need to be a nerd, you don't need to be any particular kind of person to go into medicine, and probably get to go into most fields. I can't speak for other things, but you can talk to all kinds of normal, down-to-earth people, sciencey people, artsy people that go into this field, and there are just a lot of different ways to do it. There's not one cookie-cutter model.
Awesome. That was great.
Give him a hug.
Thank you for what you do.
Thank you for what you do. If you want to learn more about exciting career opportunities, don't forget to subscribe.